Good morning, guys. If we continue with the computer metaphor, the computer programming metaphor, if we accept the idea that we are the programmers, that we're in charge of our lives, and that we can create any mindset we want, the next important, huge step is to understand that we can write the program. We can write the program as we imagine it to be. Whatever life we dream of, whatever we dream of becoming for ourselves, this is the greatest insight into being human. This is the greatest thing, our awareness, our ability to be aware of what we are right now, and then write a new program. It's the second creation of you, and that is your ability. You can do that. It takes hard work, but writing it down and then actually living by that each and every day will transform you. Have a great day, everyone.
You talked about the fear of fear and how you had to learn to let go of your fear of fear. What does that actually mean, letting go of the fear of fear?
Yeah, so I talk about how we fear the wrong things.
What do we fear?
So most of us are fearful of how our friends are reacting, what's happening on social media, and what's the random bit of news that we heard. None of it is fact-based. That's one of the biggest issues that we have.
Worry-based.
It's worry-based, and it's also imagination-based. So we become fiction writers. We've all watched too many movies. Now we start writing these beautiful movies in our head. Well, not beautiful, scary movies in our head of what may happen. So our imagination, and Seneca said it best, we suffer twice. One in reality and one in imagination, right? We suffer twice. And this is the
What
biggest...
actually happens to us,
Totally.
and then the story we continue to tell ourselves.
Totally. Now there's this incredible study in the book that I have to talk about. So
Tell
they
me.
took monks and they took non-monks and
They competed against each other.
They competed against each other, literally. So they put this plate where you experience heat. And so what happens is the non-monks touch this plate. Now this plate heats up gradually, softly, and then at one point it gets really hot for 10 seconds and it cools down. And so what happened is that when the non-monks touched it, the anxiety and pressure and stress in their brain just triggered straight away, even though it wasn't that hot.
It wasn't hot.
It was heating, but it wasn't hot to do anything major to you. But the anxiety and stress in imagination or in anticipation went through the roof in the non-monks. Now this is what's fascinating. When the monks touched it, they showed that it didn't feel anything as it rose, but as it got to its highest, they felt physical pain, but they showed no trigger of emotional pain because they did not assign any emotional element to that pain. So my point with that is, you can look at the news right now and you can get scared straight away and get in complete freeze mode, feeling stuck, paralyzed, whatever it is, because what you're now doing is you're creating a story of what's going to happen. And that story...
And you can cause sickness in yourself.
You can cause sickness
just by
inside
the story,
yourself.
not actually
the reality.
the facts of the disease hitting you or something happening physically to you.
Totally. And that story, again, can be used positively. So your story may actually be true. But if it's going to be true, now you can prepare. And that shifts you away from being scared because now you're preparing.
Yes.
And so the real
You can be
answer,
confident because you prepared.
exactly. And so we should be shifting our fear energy into preparation energy. Because what fear does is it keeps you locked there, right? We just feel stuck. I'll give you an example. Like when you were preparing for big games, when you used to play in the NFL, right? And you're playing American football against some of the biggest athletes in the world. It's like you can either sit there and be scared that you're going to play this game on the weekend, or you can prepare. And your confidence is in the preparation. So when people go, how do I feel confident right now? Are you preparing?
Are you putting the reps?
Are you putting the reps?
Yeah.
Are you building your immunity? Are you taking your vitamins? Are you
Drinking lots of water?
Are you drinking lots of water? Are you taking the steps that are needed to prepare for whatever's coming? You will feel more confident that way.
Yeah.
Your energy changes how you show up. When you are happy, positive, optimistic, full of life, creative energy, you make amazing things. But when you feel negative, down, depressed, sad for yourself, low energy, you don't make amazing things. And this is not something new that I'm telling you. You know this. The challenge is we are not in a high energy state consistently enough to stay consistent on our goals, to follow through, to create the momentum. Because we allow outside forces as well as our internal voice to keep us small, to keep us protected, to keep us scared, to depress our courage muscle. And then even though you have great ideas and great ambitions and a great heart and a desire to serve, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen because the energy isn't connected to it. If you've got a big idea, low energy, nothing happens. You don't follow through. And you end up seeing other people with a worse version of your idea, but just more energy, go off and do it. Have you ever seen it happen? You ever seen somebody make tons of money, have a huge impact off of your idea? Somebody with less heart and less vision and less creativity, but they just did it. They just got started. They just took action and just stayed consistent in their energy and they made it happen. And you didn't because you allowed the energy to dip. And so if energy is so important, then how do we manage our energy? How do we keep it high? And it doesn't mean that you always have to be on top of the world and you don't have to delude yourself and say, I'm amazing, this is going to be the greatest day of all time. Like doing things that you don't believe won't help you get the energy that you need because you'll do those things, say this is BS, this isn't working. You don't always have to be in peak energy. But what you do need to do is be in the right energy to serve your mission and whatever you're doing today. So let me use me as an example, and today is a great example because I did not sleep well last night. Had 2.5 hours sleep, just tossing and turning and just could not get to sleep. So I slept from like 6:30 to 9 o'clock, did not sleep until 6:30 in the morning. And that is thankfully a rare occurrence. Most nights I get 8 hours sleep, 7.5 to 8.5 hours sleep. But on a day like today, when I woke up and did not have a ton of energy, I did not wake up and say, yes, I feel like crushing it, let's go. And I didn't want to do something that would feel fake and disingenuous because if you don't believe it, then it's not going to happen anyway. So what did I do? Well, first off, videos have to happen today because that's part of my identity, right? So momentum has to happen. So if you start to train yourself and you create a calendar and say, okay, today is a blank, I'm filming this on a Tuesday. Today's a Tuesday. Tuesday's my video day. No matter what, I'm filming videos. I gotta film videos. It's gotta happen. It may not be my best video, but I'm gonna show up and give it the best that I've got. The best energy. This is a lot lower energy than I would normally show up with a video, but it's a different vibe. It's a different kind of energy, and hopefully it still serves. And maybe you like and connect more with this energy than Evan yelling in the car. I don't know, but videos have to happen, first off. Second, get outside. Get outside, get fresh air, get some sun on my face. If you want to change your energy, you want to shift where you're at and how you're thinking, because it's part physical energy, but also just mental energy. How do you feel about what you're doing and what's going to happen today? And getting out of your home, changing your physical environment, and getting some sun on your face can make a huge difference. So every morning I have my Believe walk and I'm walking around the park, getting some green, getting some sun. Hopefully it's not raining. Today's a beautiful day. And already it starts to make you feel a little bit happier, a little bit more in the right energy space. music is a great way to change your energy. And often what we do is we put on songs that make us feel how we currently are. So if you feel sad, you put on a sad song. If you feel low, you put on a low song. If you feel chill, you put on a chill song. Where what we want to do is, if you want to change your energy, put on a song that matches that energy. If you want to feel happy or upbeat, put on happy or upbeat songs. I have a playlist on my channel called #Believe, all caps on the letters, Believe. That's all of the songs that I listen to. And every day I've got that playlist going. I pick a random song and it just starts playing. And they're all songs that if they came on, it would make me move. And when you move, you start to change your energy. What I'm trying to do is, again, not create some fake energy, but something that I can actually connect with. I'm putting on songs that I actually like. I actually like having some sunshine on my face. You know, I actually like doing the work that I'm about to do. But it requires you showing up with a certain level of energy. And then the last one is, you know, who you're feeding your mind with, who are you around, who you're surrounded by, both the people in your life, you know, actual humans, and the videos that you watch or books that you read and podcasts you consume. I remember on the weekend, and you got to guard against it. It's crazy. So on the weekend, I went to go meet an old family friend, and he just had a lot of limiting beliefs about him and what he's creating and where he wants to go. And it wasn't meant to be a coaching session. I'm not there to help him, but just a really negative, low energy on a weekend. And that's not usually part of my routine on the weekend. And so I go to meet him, and my whole day ended up being thrown off until I caught it at night to say, why am I so low and negative today in comparison to what I would normally be? And I thought back, like, oh yeah, you know what? Ever since I went to see him, I was fine in the morning. I went to see him, and it had this negative ripple effect. You know, like you can have a positive ripple effect on people. You watch a video and it can have a positive ripple effect on you, but there's negative ripple effects too. And the people who you're surrounded by, who you're hanging out with, or you're watching on YouTube or podcasts, etc., they can have a negative ripple effect on you as well. And so he had this negative ripple effect on me that lasted almost the whole day until I caught it in the evening. I said, this isn't what I want. It's not even my voice. It's like his voice planted in me. Why am I feeling this way, thinking this way? I don't like it. And so it became a conscious choice, and I applied a lot of the same things. I got it. I went outside, reset, get some fresh air. It always helps me. Put on some music, songs that I actually like, not some fake song that somebody else likes and says, dance to this, it'll make you feel good. Songs that I actually like. There are some songs that if it came on, it would make you move. It doesn't mean you get up and dance and go spastic and crazy, but there's some songs that if it came on, you would bob your head, or you would tap your feet or bounce your knee. There's some songs that would just make you do that, right? So put on one of those songs. It would naturally make you feel happier. So I did that too. And then in terms of just guarding against people, I made a note that, hey, the next time I go see this person, he's a family friend. So the next time I go see him, which isn't that often, but still, the next time I see him, I need to remind myself of this. You know, that I need to have my shield ready. I need to give love as much as possible, and I'm not going to allow his negativity to break my shield, to permeate through. And so the more that you can catch those things, the more you'll stay in a more energetic state. And all of this, again, is not trying to force fake energy and have you feel like you're doing something unnatural. I think it's actually the most natural thing of all time. I think getting sun is natural. I think smiling and being optimistic is natural. I think the negativity inside your head was planted there, was put there by other people. That's what's unnatural. When you were a kid and smiling and happy, had dreams for the future, everything was possible. Everything was hopeful. Sure, you had bad days, but you were a happy kid. And all of those dreams and positivity get squashed out of us by other people who hate their lives. And so I think having energy is actually the most natural thing. Not every day has to be on top of the world, but having positive energy is natural. Having sunshine and leading to happiness is natural. Putting on music and dancing and moving is natural. Being around other positive, optimistic, happy people, when you're around them, you'll naturally be more positive, optimistic, and happy. And so it's about finding what is a natural flow for you. That when you do these things, it brings out a better energy in you. It brings out a happier, more positive, more optimistic you. And if you know what some of those things are, you can copy my list if you want, some of them, right? Sunshine music, videos. Then put it into your daily routine. Put it into your daily calendar. Every day, this has to happen. Because if you did the thing, just imagine this. You've had days when you felt energetic, and you've had days when you didn't, and everybody would give you the out, right? Like a day like today, 2.5 hours sleep, everybody would give me the out. It's like, it's okay, you don't have to do it. There are days when you need to bring the energy. If you did that every day, just imagine, for the next month, every day, you did the thing that puts you in a better energy state. Not that you're on top of the world and in a fake high every day, but a better energy state. You did the thing in the morning that puts you in a better energy state for the next 30 days. How much does your life change? How much does how you show up change? How much does the work that you do change? How much does your bank account change? How much does the impact you're creating change? How much of a better father or mother or husband or wife are you because you're showing up with more energy, more positive energy? I know it's inside you. That's why you watch. If you're subscribed to this channel, you're a good person. You got a big mission. You want to help people. But if you are in a low energy state, you can't not only help others, you can't even help yourself. And so that's how we start to shift it. By pouring into yourself, it allows you to pour into others. By creating more positive energy for yourself, you create more positive energy for all the people around you too.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
Morning, guys. Today, Gary Vaynerchuk shares with us his 9th rule for success, and that is don't make excuses. And this is the one where we release ourselves from that victim mode mentality. And he goes on to tell us there's going to be problems. There's going to be political things that we can't control in life. There's going to be health challenges that come up. There's going to be all kinds of things we can't control. But the number one thing he found that helps him is that he accepts full responsibility and he doesn't make any excuses, no matter what. So whatever happens in his life, and he goes on to tell us that he just says that everything is his fault, because by doing that, he then empowers himself to take control of whatever he can change. So let's remember that. Let's learn from Gary Vaynerchuk. Let's catch ourselves from making excuses. It's very hard. We may be used to it, but if we commit to it, we can change ourselves. Have a great day, everyone.
At the end of God's creation, describing how order emerges from chaos or being from potential, there's this strange line, which is probably the most important line that's ever been written in our culture, at the basis of our culture. And that is that men and women are made in the image of God. And what does that mean? Well, if God is that which confronts potential with truth and courage and makes what's good out of potential, that seems to indicate that we have the same faculty. Like on a smaller scale, we're not omniscient, but we're not bloody well nothing. our conscious is integrally tied into the structure of being in some manner we don't understand, and it certainly is the case that we take what isn't and turn it into what is. That's something, man. That's quite the trick we've been able to manage. And so we're made in that image. And so what are we supposed to do? Well, that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to type our letters and make our phrases and construct our sentences and build our paragraphs and put our chapters together and make our books and communicate to people and straighten out the damn culture and constrain the malevolence and ignorance that besets each of us and push nature back and extend ourselves out into the unknown and confront the potential that's there in illimitable quantities and make the world better than it could be otherwise. To move it away from hell, and it can certainly become that, and toward heaven to the degree that we can manage that. And that is a good enough goal. That's the thing. You need something, because your life is tough. It's hard. You need something you need something to get out of bed for and fight for. And that's something, right? To fight, let's say, against hell and for heaven. That's something to fight for. If you want to be convinced about this, like read a little bit about hell. Read the Gulag Archipelago, or read Ordinary Men, or read The Rape of Nanking, or read about what happened in Nazi Germany during Auschwitz and all the catastrophes of the 20th century, and see if you believe in hell, and see if you think, well, maybe not having that happen anymore would be a good idea. And then think about maybe that's something you could contribute to. Then it wouldn't have to happen anymore. And that would be a good thing, and God only knows what great things we could manage under such conditions. We're becoming incredibly technologically powerful. What would it be like if we became equally wise? Well, that would really be something. God only knows what we could manage in the next 20 years or the next 100 years, We're running at 40%, most of us, because we're half in and half out. And it's not surprising, because life is difficult. It's like, well, what if you were 90% in, or 95% in, or all in? Because you're all in anyways, right? It's a life and death game. No one gets out of this. Everyone dies. You might as well commit yourself. And you might as well commit yourself to the highest good that you can attain, because why not? It'll imbue your life with meaning. It's hard, the responsibility's there, but all the meaning's in the responsibility, and that'll make your life better. It'll make your family's life better, and it should make your culture better. Maybe it make the world better. It's like, that'll justify your damn miserable existence at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're wondering what the hell you're doing here. And that's a good thing, because there's going to be days when you're aching and tired and sore, and there's people in your family that are sick, and you're cynical and bitter, and you need a reason to get up, and you think, yeah, well, a little more heaven and a little less hell, maybe I can pull that off today and tomorrow and next week. And that's worth struggling forward for. And so that's how it looks to me.
Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Jordan Peterson, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, treat yourself like you matter.
My rule 2 is treat yourself as if you're someone responsible for helping. And it's sort of predicated on the idea that regardless of your inadequacies and your malevolence, which, I'm sure you have many inadequacies and no shortage of malevolence, just like everyone else. Regardless of that, you have a moral obligation, so that would be a responsibility, to assume that despite all evidence, that there's actually something of intrinsic worth about you, and that as a consequence, you're duty bound to treat yourself like that is true. And then it turns out that if you do that, well, then your life gets better. And I don't mean happier exactly, although I would say it gets happier. I mean it gets richer and more meaningful and deeper and more worthwhile, and you become more educated and you become wiser, and you treat yourself with more respect, and you're a better model for other people, and you're a better father or better sister or better mother, whatever it happens to be. And you're less ridden by that guilt that gnaws at you, and shame, that's there otherwise saying, you're not what you could be, you're not what you could be. And that's a hell of a voice to get rid of, and it's certainly not one that's easy to ignore. So that's a pretty good, that idea that there's something divine, let's say, that resides within you of ultimate worth. Even as a philosophical statement or a psychological statement rather than a metaphysical statement, it seems to be a precondition for establishing properly harmonious relationships with yourself. And that's worth thinking about a lot, you know, that you have to, because you could think that in some sense you just own yourself, you know, because people do kind of make that claim, especially when they're trying to justify, for example, their right to suicide, that, you know, it's your life, it's your body, you're yours to do what you will with. And if that was true, well, then it would seem to me that life would be a lot more straightforward, because you would just tell yourself things that you would instantly obey and believe. So first of all, you'd tell yourself all the things that you were going to do, and then you just run off and do them, which you don't, obviously, because it's much more difficult than that. And then you'd also say, well, enough of the guilt and the shame and the negative emotion and the disillusionment and the vengefulness and all those things that make life hard, especially the self-recrimination. It's like, what the hell do we need that for? And if we're our masters of our own destiny and owners of our own fate, then why can't we just command to ourselves that be dispensed with? And like, that doesn't work. I've never seen anybody able to do that. So, I mean, you can fool yourself for very brief periods of time into thinking that might work, but it doesn't work, and that's strange. And this is one of the reasons I love the psychoanalysts, because they were really the people, apart from the religious types, who figured out that whatever you are, you're not a unitary spirit that's under your own dominion. You know, you're something like a loose unity of a multiplicity of spirits, many of which are doing their own thing, which you're striving to bring into some form of unity. But even that unity isn't something that's under your control in any real sense. It's a unity that has its own nature that you have to exist in relationship to. And I would also say that that's one of the things that keeps people's feet firmly on the ground, because otherwise it's easy to become egotistical and narcissistic. You know, if you think that you're the center of your own being, you know, in some fundamental sense, then you're only beholden to yourself. You're sort of a self-created creature. Perhaps you could think about it that way. But it doesn't work like that. It's like the ideal that constitutes the unity that you might become then sort of manifests itself as something that you could strive toward, but aren't. And it also serves as a judge. It's the thing that keeps you up at night saying, you know, there's some things you're just not attending to, and you should get at it, because life is short and there's no shortage of trouble that you might end up in, and a wise person would attend to the dictates of his conscience and lay out his actions in the world according to what he knows to be true and correct. And that is how people think. And it isn't obvious that why we think that way. This is part of the reason that it seems to me so obvious that we have a religious instinct, because I can't think of what else you would possibly call that other than a religious instinct.
Rule number 3, be selfless.
The notion that our morality is linked to our desire to survive I'm perfectly fine with that. The devil's in the details to some degree. I mean, one of the fields of endeavor that I've been particularly struck by is the work of people like Frans de Waal. And Frans de Waal has written a series, and also Jaak Panksepp. Hey, I'll tell you something cool about rats. Some of you, I'd like to do that. Some of you have probably heard this before, but this affective neuroscientist named Jaak Panksepp, he studied rats for a long time, and he's a very sophisticated researcher, and I think he was one of the greatest neuroscientists who lived in the last 50 years. I don't think there's really any question of that. He might have been one of the top 3. He'd be in the top 3. It'd be a tight race up at the top 3. He did this great experiment. It was so smart. So, juvenile rats like to play. and they like to wrestle. They like to engage in rough and tumble play. And you might say, well, how do you know a rat likes to do something? It's like, or you're anthropomorphizing. And the first thing I would say to that is you should anthropomorphize unless there's evidence to the contrary, because we share a biological platform with rats, and they're a lot like us. And a rat is a lot more like you than your stupid model of a human being is like a human being. So you try building a rat. It's hard. So anyways, you can tell rats want to play because if you put them in a little arena where they can rough and tumble play and wrestle, and then you bring them there the next time and you make them work to open the door to play, they'll work. And so that's how we know you like something. You'll work for it, so you can apply that to rats. And they'll work hard for it. And rats deprived of play, their prefrontal cortexes don't mature. And they're kind of hyperactive, which might tell us something about boys in school, but we won't go into that. If you take a rat of the same age as another rat and you put him in a play area, but the other rat has a 10% weight advantage, the big rat will pin the little rat. And they actually pin each other, pretty much like dogs do when they're wrestling. Well, they don't pin quite as much, but humans certainly do it. And pin means dominance, or that's one interpretation. You only make that if you think that the hierarchies that rats live in are dominance hierarchies predicated on the expression of power. And we all kind of think that because we use the term dominance hierarchy. But, that's a political term as well as a scientific term, and it's predicated on the notion that the fundamental basis of hierarchical structure among mammals and other complex organisms is power, and that's wrong. And it's not just wrong, it's corrosively wrong. It's misleadingly wrong. It's seriously and not acceptably wrong. Anyways, you pair the rats once and you think, hey, big rat wins over little rat, establishes dominance, that's the basis of the relationship. But the thing about rats is, like people, they don't just play once because they live in social groups that are reciprocal. They play repeatedly. And Panksepp, being a very smart researcher, realized this, so he paired rats to play, the same rats, over multiple occasions. And the first thing he observed was the second time the rats got together, the little rat had to invite the big rat to play. And rats do the same sort of thing that dogs do when they want to play. And that play behavior is so cross-species common that all of you know when your dog wants to play. You can take your dog and whack him like that if you do it right, and he goes and tries to bite you, but not really, right? He plays and his tail's wagging. And when dogs are playing, it kind of looks like dominance behavior like it does among boys, because boys really like to rough and tumble play, by the way, although girls like it too, but not as much. You can distinguish the play behavior from aggression, and if you can't, that means you never had any friends. I mean that. That's what it means. That's what it means, because part of being able to have friends is to be able to identify aggression versus play. And part of playing is to pretend to be aggressive quite aggressively, but still be playing, right? There's a tremendous social skill in that. Anyways, the little rat has to ask the big rat to play, which I imagine is somewhat humiliating for the little rat, but he's the little rat, so tough luck for him. And the big rat can deign to play, and then they play. And then you can observe how they play over repeated bouts. If the big rat doesn't let the little rat win at least 30% of the time, even though he could win 100% of the time, the little rat will no longer invite him to play. And you think, yeah. It's like, no, not yeah. Like the emergence of morality in rats through play. That's a big discovery, man. That's a big discovery. And there's that reciprocity, that exists within the rat hierarchy. And stable hierarchies in complex mammals are not predicated on power. So Frans de Waal has showed quite clearly that, so chimps have a pretty rough hierarchy, and it's pretty male-dominated. Now, bonobos are quite different. We won't talk about them because it's not germane to this particular point. But you might think, the biggest chimpanzee with the biggest teeth, he's the tyrant. He's the winner. And that happens sometimes. There are tyrannical chimpanzee societies. But what Dewall has shown quite clearly is that I don't care how big and tough you are, if you don't play fair, two guys 90% your size can get together one day when you're not feeling so well and tear you into bits. And that's exactly what happens among the chimps. So tyranny, that can be a route to dominance. It can even be a route to sexual access, because it is the case among chimpanzees that males who are higher in the power hierarchy are more likely to father offspring, not because the female chimps choose them, because female chimps aren't choosy, unlike human females. It's a profound difference between the two species, but because that more superordinate male chimps chase the subordinates away. So, but Dewall has shown quite clearly that the males who manage to occupy positions of authority and competence longest in chimpanzee hierarchies are intensely reciprocal with the other males, more so than the other chimps in the hierarchy. They do a lot of mutual grooming and are preferentially attentive to the females and their infants. And so even among chimps, and chimps can be damn brutal, right? Jane Goodall discovered, I think it was 1975, another landmark in late 20th century science, that, and this was a real blow to the social constructionist utopians. Juvenile chimps patrol the borders of their territory, and if they come across chimps from other troops and outnumber them, they will tear them into bits. And chimps are unbelievably strong, and it's unbelievably brutal. And so Goodall basically discovered that chimps have the human the equivalent of human tribal warfare. And that's quite frightening if you're sensible, because you might be the kind of optimist who thinks that human conflict is caused by capitalism or some bloody daft notion like that. And wouldn't that be lovely? Because then it would be, you could just get rid of it by getting rid of capitalism, which you wouldn't be able to do anyways. But you know what I mean. We split from chimps about 7 million years ago. And if the problem of intergroup aggression is that deep, it's a terrible problem.
Rule number 4, enforce positive behavior.
Good morning, guys. As we go on our path to infinite mind wealth development, we're going to come across many challenges. And I wanted to share with you some of the challenges I've come across. See, when I decided to start making some changes and really start working on becoming my greater self, there are things that are going to be challenged, including your current internal being. So there would be times when I would be making changes in my life, and naturally, like the current level I was at, I wasn't as secure within myself. And so I would be seeking more positive encouragement or validation from outside sources, including people and friends around me. And when I look back, I laugh at it now because I understand the struggle. There's a constant battle between what you want to become and what you currently are. And that's okay. It's okay to feel that struggle, but I've started to really relish the challenge of continuing to call upon my greater self. Have a great day, everyone.
I don't like budgets for several reasons. Number one, they don't work. When you talk to any American and they know they should keep a budget, and yet they don't. And why is that? Because number one, it makes people feel bad about themselves. And if there's anything Americans are good at, it's avoiding feeling bad. Number two, they don't know how much they owe or how much they spend, but they know it's bad. And so who's gonna go through the work of actually writing down this stuff or opening up some account and then looking at it? They might do it for 1 month. They may do it for 2, but after that, it's done. And I've seen this consistently through my own millions and millions of readers. What I prefer is something that is similar but very different, and that is, instead of looking backwards at what you spent, look forward and say, where do I want my money to go? And so what I do in the book is I recommend some specific percentages. Here's how much you should be saving. Here's how much you should be investing. And this one people really love. Here's how much you should be spending on guilt-free spending. You want to buy a leather jacket? You want to go out to an amazing dinner? Awesome, be my guest. So I want people to not necessarily look backwards in their spending, but actually look forward, and as part of that, focus on the things they love as part of their rich life. That is much more motivational. It also sticks a lot more than every month looking at what you spent and feeling bad.
Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today let's learn from one of the best, Ramit Sethi, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, gamify investments.
Let's add some context around your investment desires. I think that one of the mistakes that a lot of financial people make is they try to make everything about math. Hey, Tom, let me tell you all the reasons what you just said is wrong, and let's look at the return rates. And you might listen to me politely, but deep down you're like, I don't like what this guy's saying. Let's actually start with psychology, okay? What you just told me is, hey, I like gamification. I don't want to think about it, and I have a long time horizon. Okay, let's start there. Perfect. And you also said something really important, which is you like to create. That's what drives you. Just managing what you've got is not exciting. Are all those things accurate? All right. So here's what bad advice would be, and then here's, I think, what would be better advice. Bad advice would be, Tom, sell all that bullshit. It's all like crackpot stuff. Put it in a simple target date fund and get on with your life. Come on, Tom, that's what the investment returns say. And you're gonna be like, get the hell out of here. Better advice would be, hey, Tom, it sounds like you wanna have some control over your investments. It sounds like it actually drives you to see, at what price you're purchasing it, but it also sounds like you don't wanna think much about the basic mechanics. So why don't we do something like this? Why don't we take 90% of your portfolio and put it in low-cost funds, and take 10% and say, this is total play money. In fact, you have to play with it or invest it or spend it in some way. And if it's gonna be on NFTs or Bitcoin or whatever, great. Suddenly now you have a real thesis, which is, this is long-term stuff. We kind of know the returns there, great. I'm gonna be safe no matter what happens, but I'm also going to be giving room for my psychology, my need and desire to track things and gamify it and play with it.
Rule number 3, define your rich life.
When you ask people, what's your rich life? They often give you very similar answers. I want to do what I want, when I want. Okay, that sounds pretty good. What do you want? And then people get very quiet. It's something we haven't really deeply thought about. Another common answer people give is, I want to travel. I think that's awesome. Where do you want to go? Somewhere in Europe. I want to know the details of your rich life. I want to know where you want to go, when, what airline seat you want to fly in, who you want to take with you, even where you want to eat. The details are what makes a rich life rich. I want to give you a couple of examples of how unique and personal a rich life can be to you. One of my readers told me that his goal was to retire in his 30s with his wife and to travel around the US in an RV. Now, that's not my rich life. I don't want to go anywhere near an RV, but I love and I admire that they designed their own rich life for themselves. My rich life's very different. When my wife and I decided that we wanted to travel more, we thought about what would make it magical. So for example, for our honeymoon, we went on a very long, extended honeymoon across the world. Started in Italy, brought our parents with us because that was a special thing for us. And then after Italy, our parents left, we continued on to Kenya on safari, India, and Thailand. At each place, making it our own. Staying in beautiful hotels because I love hotels. Also eating at local people's houses, going on food tours, things that made it unique and special for us. I share this with you because I want you to know that your rich life is yours. Your rich life could be picking up your son from school every day at 3 p.m. It could be buying a $1,000 cashmere sweater, or it can be traveling for 3 months a year. There's no judgment here. Your rich life is yours. What I want to do is inspire you to think about the vivid details of your rich life and then to craft it, to design it, to make it yours so that your rich life fits you almost like a handmade glove.
Rule number 4, dream big.
Many people, especially in America, are buying things that if you probed them why they're getting it, it boils down to, I want to feel good for a couple of hours.
Yeah. I want to spend money I don't have to buy things I don't need to impress people I don't even know.
Yeah. On the other hand, though, it's perfectly okay if you say to yourself, you know what? I really want that. Yes, get it. Let me show you how to even dream bigger. So I think for this person, what I'm willing to bet is that they are playing whack-a-mole with their money. So they wake up, they start the month, ooh, I'm motivated, I need to save some money, I really should do that. And then by the end, they're scrolling Instagram, they're reading their emails with links to stuff to buy, and they buy this and they buy that, and they don't even really care about it. I would rather have them sit down and say, you know what do I love? Stop dreaming small, dream big. I want a leather jacket, I'm gonna make this up. Maybe I could get a leather jacket from Gap. Dream bigger. Maybe you can get an even cooler leather jacket or something you really love. Okay, great. What's it going to take to get that? I'm going to need to save for X months, and I'm going to discipline myself by automating the money so I don't have to log in every day. And you're building this muscle of discipline, of automation. And at the end, the payoff is you get that thing you truly loved. What a lot of people might discover, which I think aligns a lot with the minimalist philosophy, is I didn't really even want this leather jacket.
Yes. And I think that's ultimately the message of minimalism is you probably don't want that.
And my message is maybe you did. And if you did, awesome. Now you know the work that it takes to get there, and now you can plan for something even bigger next time.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, use your money.
What do you love spending money on? I don't mean like, I mean love. You and I intuitively have something in our lives that when we spend money on it, it excites us, makes us happy. And if I asked you, what would you like to spend even more money on? You know it. Think about it. There are some common categories that fall under what I call money dials. And I call money dials because you can turn that dial up and you might even be excited to spend more on it. Let me give you a few categories. Some of these categories could be eating out. That's one of the most common ones. Health and fitness, travel, convenience, and a variety of other categories. So take a second right now. Think about what you would love to spend more money on. Okay, got it? Now I'm going to ask you a few guided questions. I'd like for you to follow along. What if you could spend 2 times the amount of money you currently spend? What would that look and feel like to you? Okay, for example, if you eat out every so often, what would it look like and feel like to double your spending on it? Well, for most of us, the answer is not much. So I'm going to push you a little bit. What if you could quadruple your spending on that money dial, right? Turning that dial up 4x. What would it look and feel like? Now, I want to point something out to you. A lot of people think linearly here. You know, for example, I remember asking this question on book tour when I was in Washington, D.C., and somebody's money dial was eating out. And when I asked him, what would it look like if you could quadruple your spending? His answer was, well, I'd probably have to go on a diet because I'd be eating out 4 times a week. Ha ha ha. It's one of those ha 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 jokes because deep down, everybody knows we're thinking linearly. We're thinking if I quadruple my spending, I have to quadruple the frequency. But that's not true, is it? In the DC example's case, I asked him, what if you 10x'd your spending? What would you do then? And he sat there for a second, and then he said, you know, I have a list of every Michelin-starred restaurant in town. And I knew I was getting somewhere. I said, who would you take with you? And now it got very quiet. And he said, my family. I said, why? He said, because they've never been able to afford to go any place like that. This is an example of a money dial. When you quadruple your spending, or the next question, what if you 10x'd your spending? It doesn't necessarily mean that you would 10x the frequency. Yeah, sure, if you want to eat out double, fine. If you want to buy 2 times the amount of clothes, great. But think about all the different dynamics. Think multidimensionally. For example, if you like clothes, you might not just shop at the same place. You might actually level up. You might buy higher quality. In fact, if you truly 10x, if you turn that money dial all the way, you might take your mom and you might fly to Italy and get something custom made for both of you. What a magical experience. If you love health and fitness, you might not just work out twice a week. You might actually get a personal trainer or even fly to India for a 1-week yoga retreat. Now, I know that these questions can sound unusual because for most of us, we've never thought about spending more on the things we love. We've only been told you have to spend less. But if you don't have a reason to earn and save and invest money, then it's no surprise that you're not motivated to do it. In many ways, money can buy you happiness. It can buy you convenience. It can buy you memories. It can buy you experiences. And for some people, it can also buy you things that you just like. You like a nice t-shirt? Fine. Money can solve that for you. So what I want you to do is to truly go through this exercise. Start off with that thing you love. What is it? Is it health and fitness? Is it travel? Is it eating out? Is it convenience? And so on. Then, what if you could 2x your spending? Easy, not much would change. What if you could 4x your spending? And then what if you could 10x your spending? What would it look like? What would it feel like? Remember, I want you to not just think about frequency. Think about how it would make you feel. Think about what that experience would be like. This is the beginning of really thinking about how money can affect your happiness and craft your rich life.
Rule number 6, educate yourself financially.
The typical advice that you hear is to shrink and cut back on everything. But as I've always said, there's a limit to how much you can cut. There's no limit to how much you can earn. So there are really 3 ways that I talk about in terms of getting stable. And it's the CEO strategy. Cut costs. We all know the flavor, but I'll give you a specific example. I had somebody reach out to me and say, Ramit, my wedding isn't for like 7 or 8 months. What do you think I should do? And I said, without missing a beat, I said, you got to cancel it. And as someone who has planned a large wedding, I know how painful that is to just think of all the money lost, all the planning, all the time. But at a time like this, money in your pocket is worth more than money in your pocket later. So money in your pocket now is worth more than money in your pocket later. That means if you have to cancel certain things that are going to incur fees later, fine. Deal with the fees later, but get the money in your pocket. That's C. E, earn more. We can talk about earning more in a second, but there's a whole opportunity there to start businesses and start earning more. O is really something that a lot of people haven't thought about right now. So whether you have a job or not, you can call up the companies that you owe money to or you transact with, and you can get some surprisingly great results. For example, your student loan company. If you guys owe student debt,
if you owe credit card debt, if you have a cable bill, a cell phone bill, or even a landlord, you pick up the phone and this is what you say. You say, I've been a good customer for 3 years. COVID-19 is making it difficult for me to be able to pay my bills like I usually do. I'd like to know what options you have available for me. And my readers have used this script. A lot of them have gotten their payments paused with no finance or interest charges, and some of them have even gotten rent waived. So there's a lot of opportunity. You're talking about possible hundreds or even $1,000+ with one phone call. That is how you start.
Rule number 7, set targets.
What I do with my financial system is I set a target each year. This is how much money I'm going to save and invest. And those numbers are aggressive. That's a lot of money.
You're going hard.
Yeah, like
so
every year.
10%, 30%?
Yeah, so anywhere between those ranges. And we have folks who...
Of what you earn.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then remember, whenever I make any unexpected income, let's say I did a speaking gig or something. Yeah, I might get myself I might go out to dinner, but the rest I'm just putting straight in investments.
Wow.
Okay, so that money grows aggressively. And I also want to remind everybody, especially the entrepreneurs watching, I know you have a lot of entrepreneurs. You wouldn't believe how many entrepreneur friends I know who have a good business and they don't invest at all. And that's a huge mistake.
What should you be investing in if you have a good business?
Simple, low-cost, target date funds is a great way to go. Entrepreneurs...
So index funds?
Yeah, index funds.
Yeah.
They get a little too smart for their own good. They say, I could just put that money in my business. And I always say, look, I'm glad you have a business that's throwing off tons of cash. That's awesome. Most businesses don't last 80 years.
Yeah.
So be smart. Give yourself a small plan B. Put $5K a month, $10K a month, whatever's appropriate for your level of success. And hey, maybe your business does really well. That's awesome. But maybe one day something goes wrong. Always want to be prepared. You never want to have your back against the wall. So I just want to encourage everybody, whether you're making $250K or $2.5 million for the high earners here, don't get too smart for your own good. Keep investing and saving.
Rule number 8, protect your wealth.